Today I'm showing you the average 401k balance in the US depending on your age range. I'm also going to go over what amount you need to retire given the amount of spending that you want to do. So what's the average 401k balance in the US? It's not as high as you would think. The average balance is $161,000 between ages 45 and 54, $232,000 from ages 55 to 64, and a little over $255,000 65 and up. So you're probably wondering, is this enough? Can I retire on something like $232,000 out of my retirement account? Well, the average portfolio withdrawal rate that I typically recommend is somewhere around 5%. And so on that amount, that's not a lot, right? That's somewhere around $8,000 a year. So let's take a look at some metrics. I've created this Excel spreadsheet that lays out and goes through a couple of different scenarios about where you're at in life stage, how much you should be saving, depending on what kind of lifestyle that you want, and kind of where you stack up. Okay, so here we are on the Excel spreadsheet. All the boxes that are yellow, I can manipulate. So in this first example, if you start with no money in your 401k and you start saving $12,000 a year, which is $1,000 a month, at your age 25 and you want to retire at age 65, based on some assumptions that I've included into this, that should generate or get you to around $1.1 million in your account. Now, if you take out about 5% of that a year, that gets you to about almost $57,000 a year. Plus, you're going to have Social Security. The average benefit's about $20,000. I rounded up a little bit, but it virtually works out to about $1,667 a month. And so that plus your retirement spending will get you somewhere around $6,300 to $6,400 a month with $76,000 a year. The idea of the 5% withdrawal rate, again, is that you never run out of money in retirement. It's the ability to take out the dividends, interest, and the gains from your portfolio and keep the principal intact so that it can last forever. One of the other assumptions I've made is I've included an inflation factor of about 2.75%. So where do you stack up? Those are the US averages. Now let's play with some of the scenarios and see. So let's say you start off a little bit later in life, maybe sometime around your age 30. And at that point, maybe you got some employee contributions, and so maybe you're sitting on $25,000. You still want to retire at age 65, and so if you consistently every month put in $1,000 a month, this formula essentially works out to get you to somewhere around $900,000. Your investment return is going to vary every year, so an average 6% return, and that gets you to about $894,000. And then from there, you can kind of see how the numbers play out. It works out to either $44,000 or a monthly of about $3,700. Of course, there's other factors like taxes, but again, this just kind of gives you an idea. Let's drum up another scenario. Let's say that you didn't get started until later in life, somewhere around your age 45. You still have maybe about $25,000 in your 401k. You're only saving $1,000 a month. Where does that end up at your age 65? That turns into about $427,000, right? And so this also is the picture of compound interest, the idea of starting early, because it's really easy to get out ahead of this by starting young. However, if you double this amount to $24,000 a year, right, you're getting pretty close, but you've essentially had to double in starting at 45 instead of starting at age 30, where you could have just stayed on $1,000 a month. You've had to double that to make sure it kind of works closer in your favor. So this scenario is a blend of the two. Let's say you still have $25,000 saved up in your 401k and you save about $2,000 a month at your age 35 and you retire at 60. Well, that would get you to just about $1 million, which again would be about $4,300 a month in total retirement spending. Now, Social Security, I should say, in these scenarios, you can't take Social Security at age 60, so you'd have to delay, and so there's some other factors within that. However, this just gives you an idea of how we get to some of these numbers for what you need for retirement. Averages don't tell the whole story. They shouldn't tell the whole story for all of us because every situation is different. Is $70,000 enough for you to live on a retirement? For some, maybe it is. For some, maybe it's not. One person doesn't have the exact same spending as the next person. And so even though we go off averages and say, hey, having $232,000 is most likely not enough, that should give you some idea that you need to start setting aside money to be able to spend in retirement. And consider this scenario. the scenario where someone is starting at age 55, they maybe have something like $150,000 saved. What would it take to get them to $1 million at their age 65? Now, this would be a stretch, but this is saving $5,000 a month, right? This would be that situation where you're most likely married and you're basically living on one income to save enough so that you can get you to this point. And I use $1 million a lot because that seems to be the number that everyone kind of gravitates towards as the ultimate nest egg. However, that situation still works well, and that still appears to be a nice retirement, given the late start. So I'd say there's never a point where it's too late to catch up, because there's always ways to drive income. There's always ways to lower expense to a certain degree. And so at a certain point, it's just a matter of getting help, finding someone in your corner to go through the analysis to make sure that you can retire and live the lifestyle that you want. So if you found this video helpful, give it a like. Make sure to subscribe for our future updates. Please let us know if there's any questions, comments, or concerns that you have. We'll be happy to review them with you and help produce more content that you'd like to see or hear. So, as always, have a great day and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.